I'm Shimelle Laine, and I'm here with a new edition of Sketch to Scrapbook page. In this sketch, I have 3 square photos in the original design, but as I've been doing a lot of layouts recently with strips from photo booths, I thought I'd take a different look at this and just use that outline of that whole shape as one photo, because I have a photo of a slightly different shape that has a funny story to go along with it, and I wanted to get it in my album. So I'm going to be replacing the 3 small square photos with one 6-inch tall but slightly narrower than a 4x6 photo, and then using scraps of paper to create this design behind the photos. I'm starting with a sheet of craft patterned cardstock from Amy Tangerine that has camera prints all over it, and I'm using a photo from our backpacking adventure because in that album I've done everything with craft cardstock as the background, and I've used camera motifs on all of the pages somewhere, so that makes this paper really great for that particular album. I'll be using supplies from my May Best of Both Worlds kit throughout this page, including some little stars. Now, the sketch itself has little stars that I use to mark out places for embellishment, and usually that doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a star shape in the embellishment, but this time I have those freckled fawn wood veneer stars and asterisks, so I think star shapes will certainly work out there. So I'm going to start by building this space behind the photo with a taller strip of pattern paper and then 3 smaller boxes of pattern paper off to the side. Sometimes when I'm working with scraps from a kit, it means being a little lenient on the exact shapes of the layout. For example, I had this scrap that would work well cut into 2 pieces, but it wouldn't work well into 3. So I've just adapted that to have 2 blocks instead of the 3 blocks. And I tried something here. These are 2 different aqua patterns in the same kit. One's from Dear Lizzie, one's from Ellie's Studio. And normally I wouldn't put the aqua paper on another layer of aqua, but I liked the idea of where they're just ever so slightly different shades that I would go ahead and mix the 2 together. But I do want to have some sort of contrasting element here, so I'm going to bring in this little strip, which is the Jelly Bean Soup butterflies, and use the gray stripe piece to go over this section here so that I have a straight line to balance the angle of this aqua box that's at a little bit of an angle. Then I'm going to add in my photo here. I'm just looking at the sketch to get the placement. I want it to be above the bottom box. Now I've filled more of this space than what's on the sketch, so my photo isn't going to reach all the way up here to the top, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and add that right next to the gray stripe. And from there I'm going to go with my title, and I think I want to add a little bit of mist before I do that, and I have some that I'm just going to drop on with a paintbrush. Just cover the photo up with the sketch for now. And that's quite a lot, but I think I'm going to be adding a bit more there that will make that balance, and then just a little bit over here. If I can do that without reloading the brush, that would be good. Yeah, because I just want the tinier pieces over here because my title is going to go on top of that. For my title lettering, I'm using the mistable thickers, and I've just placed them on a spare sheet of paper so that I can mist them without misting the whole sheet. And I know this title looks a little dubious at the moment, but it will be fine in the end. And I'm just going to spray them a few times to get the color, and then let them dry and attach them to my page. I'm actually going to take the lettering in kind of two directions because I want to tell the story of this title and how that goes along with the picture in this space, just waiting for the little dots of mist to dry. And then I wanted to build a little bit over here about where this was taken and the date and things like that. And also, even though I covered up the photo, apparently I'm so coordinated that I still managed to get mist on the photo. So that's why I decided to add the location there, because I could use this little geotag sticker from the die cut pack and cover up where I spilled the mist on top of the picture. So that works out to keep that a little secret between us. So from here, I'm going to add a little bit of journaling here, quite a lot of journaling here to tell the story, and then follow the sketch for the placement of my embellishments. And it'll be a little bit different because of how I've moved the placement of the photo. So for example, my title is coming right up to the photo here. I don't really have room to add another embellishment here without it looking a little bit askew. But mostly with the other pieces dotted around, that should be able to work. I also want to bring in my stamps and the little stickers here, because the story I'm going to tell is that this picture marked the moment where I stopped trying to have fancy hair and fancy outfits when we were backpacking. This was the spot where I just gave up, and my hair was everywhere that day because we were at Rotorua, which is full of steam vents, and so it didn't matter how many times I pulled it back, it just ended up in one big frizzy mess. And I'm going to tell that story of how I was able to enjoy this part of the trip more once I just stopped caring about that and caring about how glamorous I would look in the pictures. And clearly I don't look glamorous at all. And I also wanted to use the phrase stamp in the set because I think it really matches the journaling. So I'll find a spot for that and get my journaling added to the page too. From the sketch, I've chosen 3 places where I'm going to add little groupings of embellishment, and that's one up here, one to the far side of the journaling, and then one down here at the bottom of the box. I do realize that this bit then becomes a little bit central to that, but I'm willing to let that just be a little bit of oddball placement, and I'm going to add each of these stickers with a foam dot and then scatter my wood veneer pieces around these groupings as well. And that should also follow these little ink blots around as well. And the wood veneers have different sizes in the pack, so I should be able to mix them up and have kind of small, medium, large in each spot, or at least a little bit of variety. And I've added my stamps down here at the bottom of the journaling and repeated one up here because I just kind of wanted the repetition of the fonts in 2 different places. I think that's pretty much finished, but I'm thinking that I need a little bit more of a burst of color in those spots, and I really like how this yellow here is just peeking out of the layout. So I think my final touch is going to be to punch 3 little circles in some yellow pattern paper and put that behind these little groupings, and then I'll call it done. So I'm pretty sure this is where I'm going to finish that. Just added in a little scrap of yellow paper because I didn't really have a good yellow left in the kit other than a giant sheet, and I didn't really want to do 3 little circles from the whole 12 by 12, so just picked up a little scrap there, and I like how that then brings in the color of that pattern paper there. Now if you wanted to add more detail, my first place to go on this page would be stitching. I love the idea of zigzag stitching this line underneath the letter stickers here, and then adding some more stitching in a narrow stitch instead of a zigzag around these 2 boxes to kind of pick up the layering, and then I decide once I had all that stitching down if I needed some more stitching to go with these paper boxes or if they were okay on their own. Now if you check out my blog at shimelle.com, you'll find a second interpretation, and in fact today you'll find a third interpretation because I've done 2 layouts with this sketch, and then we have our guest as well. So I hope you'll stop by, and I'd love to see what you make from this sketch. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks for watching!